Oh, let's see if this happens. And get started here. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you are here and you don't hate my guts, give me a thumbs up. If you do hate my guts, why are you watching, right? If you intend any drama, you will not find any here. Been concentrating on everything. Give me a thumbs up, people. Let's get this party started because we actually have a topic to talk about because of something that happened to me. So, you need drama. Well, here's some drama. So, here's what's going on. So let's get the other phone here so I can read the comments without squinting. Because I'm an old man. An old man. We'll do some shout outs and then we'll get on our topic, shall we? We got Clyde in the house, Pale Rider TV, Bright, Oda Loop, Jonathan Wheeler, nothing really, nothing witty. I was reading your comment. I'm not really here. What's the topic? We don't need a topic for a live feed, do we? Jesse, what's up? Hey, Jesse, I got your email. I will respond to you once I get off here. Rich S, what's up? Quick Williams, John Armstrong. Let's see, Trucker Josh. Did I see him in here? Jonathan Wheeler, I think I've already said. John Dollahite, good afternoon from Northeast Texas. Hello, Gan, says Chucky. So, I'm sorry about the last abrupt ending for my last video. I booked a load with a click and go broker. We will not say who it is, but you can probably figure it out if you are a smart person. Because of my flat tire I found this morning. And so I had to respond to that, and that's why the video ended abruptly. Business before this YouTube hobby, right? Because that's all this is. It's a hobby. It's not a business for me. It generates a little bit of revenue, but not much, like $100 every month, maybe at the most, depending on how many super chats and generous people we have. So it's a hobby, right? It's a narcissistic, I want to tell you what to do kind of hobby, right? So here's the topic. Here we go. Ready? Go. Can you afford to break even? Right? bigrigceo had a really good video this morning. Hopefully you left it up. If not, chew them out, email them, chew them out for taking videos down because I take videos down. It frustrates him. So, I can see his viewpoint, but here's the deal. He talked about running a business. And so you got a lot of people that come in and ask, how much money can you make? What truck should I buy? Things of that nature, right? And you see the same questions asked by all of us YouTube people, or for us YouTube people all the time. I get that question all the time. Should I buy a Kenworth? Should I buy a Freightliner? How much do you make? How much do you gross? How much do you net? What can a guy make if running the spot market? What can a guy make at Schneider? What can a guy make at Landstar? Things of that nature. And we're going to talk about two topics here. One is a message to you Schneider guys, and the other one is the title. Can you afford to break even? Here's a perfect example. So I showed up at the shipper here in Kansas City. Now I've deadheaded from Springfield to Kansas City to pick up a load that goes right back to Springfield for tonight. And then I booked another one that picks up tomorrow, delivers Thursday morning. Got a little bit more time on that one. Now, I show up at this shipper. That's a 3-hour ride. I show up at this shipper, and they're like, "Yeah, that was supposed to have been picked up on the 4th. And yeah, so they've rescheduled that one. I'm like, oh, well, you got any going to Springfield? Maybe I had the wrong pickup number. Like, yeah, we had 3 and they're already gone. Oh, okay. So I come in, I call the Click and Go outsourced broker and said, hey, here's what's going on. So, all right, you're getting a truck order, not you. Sorry, we're bad, whatever. So I look at the pickup number for the one tomorrow, and I go back in there. I'm like, hey, is the one for tomorrow good? Yes, that's for 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. You're good to go on that one. I'm like, sweet. And I come back in. I'm already here. I'll just spend the night here, right? It's not a bad neighborhood. No facilities, but we'll deal with that, right? We've got other options, other things we can do. So here's what I mean about breaking even. So what should have been an $830 day. Now this is before Jeff's cut. So what is that? Because we got to think of the net number, net to the truck number, right? So 830 times 0.8. That's not right. 830 times 0.8. 664. 600. We'll call it 650 just for argument's sake. What should have been a $650 day has turned into a $350 day. Now, here's the deal. And I'll get to the comments here. I saw super chat. I will shout you out. Thank you very much. Here's the deal. So, right here is the bill for my tire. The way the nail went in, can't patch it. So the bill, so I bought a used tire, not a recap, but a used good tire. So the total bill is $203.91. Now, fuel. I didn't buy any fuel for this trip yet, but if I did, here's what I've spent on fuel. So this load was 160 miles times 2 with the deadhead times 2. That comes out to 320 miles total. 320 divided by 6 miles to the gallon comes out to 53 gallons. 53 times what's the average fuel price around here? We'll call it $2. We'll call it 2.25. We'll do 210. That's $111. So 111 plus 203, that's $314. Now, the money that Jeff paid me for an accessorial plus the fuel plus the truck order not used, I break even today. Rough, right? So this is a lost day where I broke even. Why did I break even? Because of that tire. Because of fuel. Because even though I didn't buy fuel on this trip, I still burned it. No one's handing me out a free fuel card, right? So that should tell you you're going to have days like this. And that's why my deadhead will always be, I try to stay around 150 miles, because if you get a truck order not used, at least you get $1 a mile. And that pays for the fuel and then some, because, fuel technically should only cost you about 30 cents a mile, depending on how much you run. I just did my Trucking Pro numbers yesterday. I didn't put in my expenses for August, but I did put in all my loads, and so the only expense that was coming in was fuel and DEF, and I was at 29 cents a mile. That was my fuel cost. So here's where this gets important. If you have, a lot of these guys say, well, I base my costs off of you know, 25, 30 days a month. If you base your costs off of 30 days a month, guess what? Now you're in the hole, right? Now you're in the hole because you've missed a day. You can't base your cost off of 30 days a month. It's just between restarts and mishaps and cancel loads and picking up and delivering, you just can't do a full 30 where you've got revenue every single day. You just can't do it. I don't care who you are. Unless you've got some kind of set gig where you're doing the same thing and it's only 6 hours a day that you're driving, and you're not worried about restarts, and which is possible. Don't get me wrong, it's possible, but not likely. That's the other thing you got to talk about. Is it likely that you're going to be able to work a full 30 days for the month? No. And even if you do, let's say you work the next 2 months at 30 days a month, you're probably going to take a couple of weeks off, right? So now, if you take the 3-month period, you're not at 30 days now, are you? See what I did there? So you cannot base your cost off of 30 days a month. You just can't do it. You need to break down a little bit higher. I suggest 25 days a month that you base your cost per day off of. And the same thing goes with mileage. If you're one of these guys that goes by strictly mileage, cost per mile, if you base your cost per mile at 2,500 miles a week, guess what? Number one, it doesn't account for the short haul. But number two, you're going to have days like this. Well, how many miles did I do today? Well, I did 150, 160 miles. So if you're going by mileage pay, like if I paid a driver to do this load and this happened, I would have had to give him my TONU because, or else they're not making any money. So can your business afford that? So people go, well, Steve, I based my cost off $1.35 a mile. That's what my cost is after home expenses and everything else, and that's great. If you go by cost per day, you got to do 25 days a month, at least 20 if you want to be off every weekend. And it just depends on what your needs are, and then that'll give you a more realistic number. I look at both numbers. I'm not one is better than the other. I look at both numbers. Because, like, for example, this load here that canceled, I divide it by 2 because it's a round trip, right? Because I go from Springfield, Kansas City back to Springfield, and that was still north of $2 a mile. But the daily rate was excellent. The daily rate is still good on the second one I got tomorrow. Now, luckily, if you go by cost per day, I break even on this day. My cost per day is not very high. Should be higher because I know I got some repairs coming down the pipe. I can just feel it. I can sense it. This truck's at 650,000 miles, and 'tis the season, right? So let's do some shout outs here. Let's see, John Armstrong, I think I said hey to you. We're talking about beer with the Hool. Ooh, twice in one day. Yep, Scott. I got rid of the last one because it was dumb. Christian Trucker's in the house. Good to see you. Selena. That's not the real Selena. I have a feeling I know who that is. GNC Family Trucking. Jesse Bennett, thank you for the super chat, $10. I appreciate that. So now I've made $10 today. I'm not just breaking even. Well, 7 if you take out. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is, Jim, what's up? Is gross, and Jim, you're going to pay attention to this part, right? Gross and net numbers, right? So, Provost is in the house. Jeffrey Likes in the house. Trucker Josh. Let's see. What is cost per mile? Absolutely. We'll go through James Best. 25 days only allowing for 34-hour resets. Not realistic. 20 days is a bit more realistic, right? And what you can do is you can average. I average about 23. Average about 23 when I'm really running. Steve Watkins, hello. So let's RDs first. So let's talk about. So one of the big mistakes I made when I was at Landstar, Jim, was, and you Schneider guys should pay attention to this, is looking at the gross number and only having that in your head. So if you work for Landstar, when you book a load, and let's say it's paying $1,000, you have to do your own math, make sure to know that you're only getting out of $1,000 load, you are getting times 0.65. If you're using a company trailer, that's $650. Schneider already does the math for you. And so what happens is Schneider guys want to move either to Landstar or they want to go to the spot market, and they don't realize that Schneider has already done the math for you. So when you see a load on the Schneider load board that says it pays $1,000, that's to the truck. Because bigrigceo mentioned that, you know, he sees this all the time, that if Schneider National owner operator and a spot market guy are doing the same load, same everything, but the spot market guy is getting way more money. What they fail to realize is that, well, the spot market guy is going to tell you a 100% number, right? So it's going to sound like it's more. I've done this comparison with a few of the Schneider drivers on loads that I know that are both on the spot and on the Schneider load board, and it's about even. Sometimes Schneider is a little bit higher. Sometimes the Schneider net to the truck number is higher than what I booked it for on the spot market at my 100% number. And so what happens is people go, hey man, I want to take my high cost Schneider finance truck to the spot market, and man, you know, what kind of numbers you say? Oh, I'm making like, you know, $1,000 a day. You know, I made $200,000 last year, and you know, they're giving you the 100% number. Did you really make 200,000? Are you making $1,000 a day? No, you're probably making 800 to 750 a day. That's to the truck, and then you got to take your expenses out of that. And a lot of, you know, so whenever you ask somebody, hey, you know, what can a person average when you know, either at Schneider, Landstar, or in the spot market, you go, well, you know, you want the net to the truck number. That's the number you want, net to the truck, because that gives you a completely different story. If a driver makes, if you make 12,000 a month, booked rate, 100% number, that comes out to 144,000 a year. You multiply that times 0.8, that's 112, or 115,200 minus, let's see here, minus 144. That's a difference of, let's do this here, 144 minus 115. That's the difference of almost $30,000. So that percentage, so that's an inflated number. It's an inflated number that could really skew your numbers. So when you go, well, I average $1.90 a mile. Well, is that before your carrier's cut or after your carrier's cut? That's the important number. So when you ask a Schneider guy, hey, what are you averaging a mile? You go $1.80. Okay, well, that I know guys at the spot market that are averaging $2 a mile. But are they really, if that's their booked rate number? Do you see what I'm getting at? So all these things are should be thoughts if you're thinking about coming out and becoming an owner operator and starting a trucking business, as bigrigceo put it, right? Big Rich, what's up? That's the one problem I'm having, taking that 35% out, right, Jim? And so here's the difference. So Schneider already does that math for you, so you're not looking at an inflated number, and so Landstar, what they do is they give you a card. It's like the size of a business card. It's laminated. I don't know if they still do this, Jim. Maybe you can confirm this. But they give you like automatic math. Like it's a scale. It shows you the 100% number and the 65% number. But when you make a decision in a other than Schneider, when you got to make a decision, you got to look at your number that your carrier takes as well. Now Jeff makes it easy because it's an 80-20 company. Nothing else is taken out besides fuel, and so it's easier to keep track. So when I write down my load assignments, and I still write everything down, I don't just rely on keeping it on my phone or email or whatever. I write down the 100% number. So if I book a load for 1,000, I put 1,000, then put a line underneath it, and I put 800. That way I can kind of keep track of how I'm doing in the market, but also I've got it in my head what I'm really making to the truck. And so when I enter that in my software program, spreadsheet, whatever you want to use, you want to put that number, that bottom number, because if you put the 100% number, that's going to skew your numbers. Because unless you work at the company I won't even mention, but everybody did videos about, your company is going to send you your tax stuff based off that percentage number, that to the truck number, and that's the number you need to get inside your head. And that was tough for me at Landstar because I was always like, wow, this load's paying $3,000, and then like at the end of the day, at the end of the load, I'm netting like 1,000, and it's like after expenses, after all the nickel, and after the com data fees, after the carrier's percentage, and it gives you a really like, wow, okay, and it's kind of frustrating. So this is where you look at percentages. Okay, percentages and everything, right? Percentages and everything, because now you got to take out the expenses, right? If I'm making 80% of the revenue, if I do the same exact load next to, say, a Landstar guy doing the same exact load, well, he's making 65%, so he's getting less money right off the bat. But then Landstar is still going to take insurance, and the com data fees and everything out of that, whereas I'm billed differently for my insurance because I supply my own insurance, but Jeff's not billing me for anything. There's no insurance to be billed for on his end. So that's where that cost per day kind of thing comes in, because I have a set insurance, truck payment, trailer payment every month. That's a set number. That number never changes, right? And every now and then I'll get my insurance lower, which I got my insurance lower, so that's been kind of nice. And so I look at that cost per day of what it takes to keep my business afloat. And then fuel is variable. So you have to look at everything. And the whole point of this video is, can you afford to break even? Can you afford a day that you lose because of things out of your control? There's absolutely nothing I can do. And since I have another load booked after this and I don't want to cancel it, yeah, could I find something around Kansas City that would keep me going? Right. But I have requirements because I got family in town, and I don't want to burn the broker for the load that I'm picking up tomorrow. There was a time where I was at Landstar where I had to cancel a load. Well, a load was canceled on me. I showed up and was told, well, sucks to be you, right? Didn't even get a truck order not used. And I actually, it was like a week of short haul stuff. In order to keep that week going, I just deadheaded to the next load. So I wouldn't tick off the next 3 agents over there at Landstar, because once, and Jim, pay attention, once you tick off the agents and you're on their blacklist, guess what? Guess what? You're gonna get, it's gonna be hard and hard for you to find the load. So don't go all, angry on Landstar agent. And you don't want to do it with brokers either. Brokers have a thing called Carrier 411 where they can like it's almost like Google reviews, but for for the brokers to the carriers. So the brokers can go, hey, avoid this carrier because they're notorious for canceling loads. And then, with the click and goes like Uber and Convoy and JB Hunt, you've got like a certain standard that you got to keep, or else you can't use their services, right? So that's what gets complicated in trying to understand what people are talking about, right? And so whenever you ask an owner operator, hey, how much do you make to the truck? That's the number you want. What is their net to the truck? Which technically would be your gross. I can sit here and tell I grossed 144,000, right, for the year. But what did I net? Well, that's not a number that you need to worry about because everybody's net's going to be different. Your fuel's going to be different. Your insurance is going to be different. Your home bills are going to be different. Everything's going to be different. So you're just interested in the gross to the truck, right? Gross to the truck. Out west, you're going to average about $1.40 in Schneider. So if you take that $1.40 and divide that by 0.35, that's going to give you your 100% number that the carrier got. They do give you that car, but I think after doing this a couple of weeks, they'll be able to do that 35 in your head. Right, Jim? Yeah, it'll be second nature, Jim. And that's the point. You need to make it second nature. You need to make it to where you're not even worried about the 100% number. You're worried about what's going to the truck. Mind-blowing how drivers can't answer basic questions about the cost involved in the lease, not specific number, but the actual cost involved. Failure and success are both your own doing. That's absolutely true, Frank. That's absolutely true. So waiting on a trailer, look for SOS loads. That sucks, Jim. And so, Jim, you're living exactly what I'm talking about, right? So Schneider made that easy. They paid you to go get the first trailer, and they'll deadhead you, 5, 6, 800 miles if needed to get you a trailer. And I know that the agents at Landstar really hold on tight to those trailers if they're dropping to a customer, so they don't want to give one without getting one. Oh my, you just can't go by how much money's in the bank, fellas. Nope, you can't. It is about the net, little line coach. Escargo, always putting good info. Hope you're good. Escargo, how you doing, man? I'm surprised we haven't crossed paths unless you bought a different truck, but if you're running the Arkansas market, I should be running into you quite a bit. And it's good to see you. So I just wanted to put that thought out there because I've literally lost today, and not to any of my doing. And so you have to account for, like for example, I was going over my Truck and Pro stuff, and I was like, man, why did I take this week off? So I was looking at my notebook, like, oh yeah, my trailer. My trailer needed a repair, and it took like 4 days to get it done. And there was another truck repair. So the truck repairs are double whammies, right? Because not only are you losing time, you might have to take a week off, but you're getting billed $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for something major. And so that's 5 days lost right there. So whenever you decide you're trying to get into this business, and that's what this is a business, you want to be able to account for some kind of cushion to keep you afloat whenever you break even or lose a day or lose a week even. If you have to base your cost off of 30 days or even 25 days a month, make sure that everything goes perfect, or like 3,000 miles a week, And if your truck payment or your costs are too high, and the bank doesn't care that your load canceled. The bank doesn't care that there was a blizzard that kept you in Wyoming for 3 days. The bank doesn't care that you blew 4 tires at once because some idiot put spikes in the road. The bank doesn't care that that truck broke down and it's not under warranty. They don't care if it is under warranty. They still want to be paid. And when they send the repo man, it's over. And so you have to put yourself in a situation like, okay, can I, and then the house, look at the house stuff. Can your house survive if you're not making money for 2 or 3 months? Can your house survive if you're not making money, with a week down? You're all, and there are other things besides truck that are, like funerals. What if someone close to you passes away? You're not going to be working. You're going to go home for a funeral. You're going to go home for a memorial. That usually is a week. What if you can't, get the flu? What if you get the big dreaded big C? You're going to be down. What if you get major food poisoning? You're going to be down. What if you break your leg because you're an idiot and you can't walk like some people? That's a comment against me, just in case you're not caught up. That cost me a month. When I busted my leg, that cost me a full month. And guess what? I didn't go into debt. I was able to pay my bills still. We made great money running up here to Florida in Eddie's truck last 2 weeks. Real good money, I bet. Is it okay to drink beer at a funeral? Depends on the funeral home, I guess. I think some countries, some places, it's required. I went to a funeral, and the guy's request was to play Metallica in the funeral home during the visitation. So we're all sitting there in the visitation, and we could hear it very faintly. We're like, "Is that Metallica playing?" Of course, you couldn't have it too loud. So yeah, you can do whatever you want at the funeral. Any comments, questions, or concerns? We'll keep this video short, unless you guys want to bring anything else up. Jesse, if you're still in here, I can answer your question here, or I can just do it privately in email. Sorry for the vibration noise. But at least I muted it. At least I'm not one of these guys that keeps his phone, which I used to be one of those guys that keeps his phone full volume. No, it was it was the Injustice for All Little Viking Coach. It wasn't like S&M 2. I haven't listened to S&M 2. I'm not. Here's the thing with Metallica S&M is there are some songs the symphony sounds good, and other songs where it was a clash. Like it's like listening to 2 different radio stations. And I'm pretty sure that everything I've heard so far it's the same way. So that just depends. So that's just my opinion, though. I'm not one of these new Metallica haters, though. I'm not one of these guys that bashes on them. I like old and newer Metallica. It's just me. You would think, with the extreme music I listen to, a lot of old school guys like me are like, screw new Metallica. I'm not that guy. I appreciate everything that they do. So yeah, breaking even. So I broke even today, and I'm glad I went to Walmart and got some food in the truck, or else I'd be probably backtracking about 40 miles to the nearest stop that I feel safe at. But luckily this place allows overnight parking, and we should be good. See Metallica live at the Apollo, great show. I know, Provost, I'm completely jealous of that. When they start touring again, I might ask a favor from you. The best, use best undertakers. Oh, the Whool asked about best logistics. No, I've not done a best logistics load. And Jesse's not in here anymore, so we won't answer his question. Did you get good seats there at the Apollo there, Provost? Let's all gather in our hatred for Slipknot and those Canadian Razor or something or other. Razor's actually pretty good. I didn't realize they're Canadian. Slipknot, I don't mind Slipknot. Actually, one of the local bands used to play with, back when members of Slipknot were in a full-on underground death metal band. They've had, the bass player, I guess, Slipknot killed himself. That's not the first time that band has seen tragedy. Thomas Wilson also, you can start over here. Thomas Wilson is a guy that came out here right. He did his research. He knew exactly what he needed to come out, and he's prepared himself for downtime. He prepared his house. And one of the months of home bills and those bills, packed away just in case something goes down. Here, if it saves you time. Okay, so Jesse asked me if it was better to go to Schneider or Landstar, and he's a flatbedder. He wants to stay in flatbed, and he eventually wants to get his own authority. Anybody? That is a conversation for Jeff. Jeff's still trying to get approval on whether we can take on any more contractors right now. And I don't know what his stance on flatbed is. I don't know what our insurance stance is on that. But if your goal is to get your own authority and you want to stay in flatbed, then you definitely don't want to go to Schneider, because Schneider, the only flatbed that they have is dedicated, and it's usually just rebar around Dallas. Landstar is a good platform to learn flatbed if you want to learn how to call brokers and everything else. Landstar has a lot of good dedicated accounts for flatbed if you want to self-dispatch. And then eventually that would give you the skills needed to get your own authority. I know plenty of people have done flatbed over at Landstar that went and switched to their own authority and are doing well with it. I don't know what their requirements are. I didn't get into it. And then you could probably start with them and not need to buy a trailer. But once you buy a trailer, you get 73%. So keep that in mind, Jim Murdoch. 73% if you have your own trailer. So that's my, and then Mercer. Yeah, Dutch says Mercer. Now, I can't speak on if Mercer's a good company or not because I've never worked for them. However, there is a couple of drivers that I've talked to that have worked there. I believe Big Billy is a Mercer flatbedder, and Mercer has some really good flatbed freight, and it's also self-dispatch if I'm correct on that. So I would look at that. Are you a flatbedder now? No, RD, I'm not a flatbedder. Choice Moss has a good flatbed channel. There you go. Sorry, Landstar called you. Hopefully to get you a trailer, right? Anyways, I hope you guys like this video. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. I just wanted to put this out here. I don't want to put too much filler. I don't want to put too much BS. I'm not the smartest business person, but I do know that I've made mistakes and I've been able to survive them by some kind of miracle, and probably because I got an awesome wife at home. That's probably the number one rule to my success. Oh, not you. And I do what I can to help you guys through the stuff that a lot of people don't talk about, as far as, you can talk about gross and net numbers all day long, but if your cost, that's the other thing. So another channel brought up this. Another channel brought up, spot market's so good, should you count, right? Well, here's the thing. If you come out in a really good market like we are now, and then the market starts to drop, that's going to be a huge adjustment. So you have to base a worst case scenario. What's the absolute minimum that you can run for? You know, if rates go down to $1.10 a mile on the average, can you survive that? That is the key. Anybody can come out here like, oh, I'm going to buy a new truck when everything's $3 and $4 and $5 a mile. Anybody can do that. If I was to base my business off of the numbers we're seeing now, I could easily afford a new truck. Easily. But I know that if I had a brand new truck, I would have struggled the first 4 months of this year. So if, you know, how do you handle a bad market? The same way you handle a good market. Be as efficient as possible. Be as smart as you can. And keep your costs as low as you possibly can. That works in all seasons. It works at any company. And it works in any kind of market. What is the worst case scenario? What is the worst that you can survive? You know, and that is the number that you go off of. And so you can't ask, you know, should I, you know, like, you got to realize that, like, this particular load that I'm doing today, or I tried to do today, and the one I'm doing tomorrow, that load literally paid anywhere from as low as $550 to as high as $1,200. That's the kind of spread you see in the spot market, and that is in the same 4-month period. So that's the volatility. So I have to look at the absolute lowest number, and that's the number I go by. Anything else is gravy. If your cost per day is $350 a day after fuel, or with fuel, and anything you make above $350 is bonus, is profit that will help you for the days like today where you lose and break even, or you lose a day. You know, if you're sitting at the truck stop waiting for that awesome paying load for 3 days, that doesn't do you any good either. So read your comment. Gotta go. Be right back. There you go. Oh, Steve, it would be a lot different if it had been a lease as opposed to a bank loan like I had. True. You know, I'm not going to sit there and, you know, leasing is a tool. A lot of people lease equipment in other forms, like, you know, bulldozers or farm equipment, or, you know, or trailers, you know. If you see a plain white reefer trailer that goes in and out of Walmart DCs, those are leased trailers. The leasing is a tool. You know, and so, and it can create a higher cost of operation, and that's the big thing. You take more risk when you don't lease, and, you know, depending, you know, if I, you know, well, I mean, yeah, it just depends. If you can't succeed in the downtimes, then don't lease a truck. I've been here since the beginning. Obviously, I was first. Okay, Jess, I would recommend going to a company that leases an operator for a few to learn to run your own truck, then go to Landstar and learn to self-dispatch yourself, then maybe your own authority. Why can't you just go directly to Landstar? You might call it Landstar, but I think their flatbed loads are actually pretty good, especially if you get into specialized. Jesse, if you can get into specialized, you're golden. Because a lot of specialized, a lot of oversized, a lot of overdimensional doesn't hit the spot market. You know, it's tough to get those loads. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is tough to see those loads on, you know, DAT or 123 or truck stop, whatever it's called, whatever that third one's called. So, but at any rate, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good evening. I hope you had a good Labor Day weekend. And if you have any questions, email me at doomytunestransport@gmail.com. I'll be glad to help if I can. If I can't, I'll be like, I'm kind of dumb and I can't help you. So I may not have all the answers, I'm not going to give an answer I don't know. So, at any rate, thanks for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate the super chat. And you make my narcissism fun. So, with that being said, peace.